Let's welcome back to already episode 6 of the ToonTALK podcast brought to you by Magpie 24/7. In this episode, I am joined by a familiar voice. Shane, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Ian. Always a pleasure to join you on these podcasts.
That's fantastic to hear. On today's episode, we are talking the international break as England are due to face off against Latvia after having already played Wales. What was yesterday? And after we've talked a bit about the international break, the England squad, the upcoming World Cup over the summer, we will head over back to the Premier League to talk a bit more about the start of the season, some players, some teams we've been impressed with or disappointed with. Without any further ado, I suggest we get straight into the episode with the first topic, and the first topic has to be our current England squad. Without going through all of the names, which we will do, any thoughts on this squad in general, Shane?
I was pleased to see Elliot Anderson and Gibbs White go back in it. Because you get players like that they go in, they perform well, and they perform well for the clubs, and then they dropped again, and you just can't really understand why. And then they bring in so many familiar faces. Obviously, there was the exclusion of Bellingham, which was all the talk, but. I think it was the correct call. He's not played much for Real Madrid. He's just come back from injury, and don't upset the apple cart. And just everybody performed well last time out. So yeah, that's my general feeling about it, really.
I agree with the Bellingham stuff, especially given the fact you kind of know what you're gonna get from him. He's gonna be on the plane to the World Cup anyways, so this is a perfect opportunity to give some other midfielders a shout because I genuinely do believe Elliot Anderson has to be on the plane to the World Cup. That's a bit of a spoiler already, but
Yeah,
he's so unbelievable and he could be
I would agree.
massively useful as that third midfielder for us.
I would agree.
If we have a look at the players who were picked by Thomas Tuchel this time around, the three goalkeepers, I think we can get over that one pretty quickly. Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, and James Trafford have been picked. The interesting thing I would like to talk about with the goalkeepers is that the two other names in the running to eventually go to the World Cup are both of our goalkeepers, Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale. And given the fact that James Trafford is firmly rooted to City's bench at this moment in time, I think whoever ends up being our number one come the end of the season is probably the one who will go with England as our third choice goalie, which I mean, he's probably not going to get any minutes, but it is still an opportunity to win a World Cup. So it's still a massive opportunity for this goalie to go to the World Cup. Do you think it will be Pope, or do you think Ramsdale could maybe have a shout to dislodge him come the end of the season?
I think Eddie Howe's got form in sort of sticking with and being loyal to sort of the players that he knows and trusts. And unfortunately, Sir Ramsdale is a new boy into this mix. It's no slight on Ramsdale, but I think it's just going to be Pope. We all know. I mean, the Arsenal game epitomised Pope. Brilliant shot stopper, but just cannot kick a ball to save his life. Unfortunately, I joked with my friends. My friend asked me, "Is Nick Pope right footed or left footed?" And I said he's neither footed, neither footed. like, so, I think it's a bit of a weird one because if you match them two goalkeepers together, Pope and Ramsdale, and you get the qualities of both, you've got a really really good keeper on your hands there.
Mhm. Agreed.
But then again, you're looking at Ramsdale, and then you think, yeah, he comes on stage of his box very comfortable with the ball, takes it off the defenders, spreads it across very nicely. But then always prone to letting a goal in. Like
Mhm.
look at the clean sheets Pope has done this season. He's kept a clean sheet against Aston Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest. And then Ramsdale's only had Bradford, and he conceded against those, albeit
Yeah.
it was a very good goal. But no, yeah, sorry. In answer to your question, I think it is going to be Pope who's going to be our
Mhm.
number one, and I think you've got a good point there because I don't think Trafford's going to be playing for Man City, and to bring a third choice goalkeeper that's played very very little minutes for Man City would be kind of just stupid, if I'm
Mhm.
honest with you. I
I
mean,
agree.
yeah, if you're going to bring a third choice goalkeeper that may potentially be called upon, especially if there's an injury to say in the running to say someone like Pickford or Henderson,
Mhm.
then and he steps up that mark a bit, and then it could be that he is called upon in certain games. why would you want Trafford if he's not really been playing? I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. If you were Trafford, would you be looking for a January loan switch to maybe ensure that position on the plane, or do you just stick
If I
with with
if I
City?
was if I was Trafford, I'd just take my wages and just I don't know what I'd do. I mean, at the end of the day, he's made his bed, hasn't he? He
Yeah,
could
yeah.
he's signed for Man City thinking he's going to be number one, and he must have been gutted when Donnarumma come in. And it must have gone against what he's been told because he must have been
hmm
signed, and they must have said to him, "You're our number one goalkeeper. Come to us, and you'll be
I
playing all
think
the
so
time."
too.
And in the World Cup year as well. And I think they've gone against that promise. And I think
Mm.
it's a real slap in the face to a guy who started off at Man City as well.
Yeah,
To be sort of loaned out and then shipped out and then sold out and then they brought it back in and then they've done that to him. So it's a bit similar to what Henderson's situation at Man City at Manchester United. Do you remember?
yeah, yeah.
He
Good
was
point.
loaned out. He was loaned out. Said I'm going to come back in, and then they signed De Gea on a new contract and stuff like this. And it was like
hmm
he never had a look in, did he? But yeah, that's suppose that's life and that's football. But
And
I don't know what.
how much Man United would like Dean Henderson back now?
Well, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the loans which goes, I mean, I suppose it's not really up to Trafford, is it? It's up to
hmm
Manchester City, because if they loan him out, who have they got for a second choice?
I mean, Ortega is still there. He's probably the best
Ortega.
third choice goalkeeper
He
in the
must be
world
getting on
at this
now.
moment.
Oh,
I think
oh,
he's 32 years old, which is
oh,
okay for a
still,
goalkeeper. Yeah,
still,
yeah.
it's not too
I
bad.
don't understand why he hasn't left because I mean Ederson has gone, but they signed two goalkeepers. So
He's seen what Scott Carson's achieved there. You know, endless years of wages for doing absolutely nothing. He's
I
thinking,
mean,
I'm having a little bit of that. I'll have a little bit of that.
I mean, I would like some of that too, to be honest. So I can't really blame him. If we have a look at the defenders who are called up to the squad are Dan Burn, Mark Gehi, Reece James, Ezri Konza, Miles Lewis Kelly, Gerald Kwanzaa, Jet Spence, and John Stones. Now, immediately, the first name I would like to talk about is Dan Burn, because I think Dan Burn is going to the World Cup.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Left footed centre back,
exactly.
massive.
That's
Who else is
that's
left? Who else is left footed? Who else is over 6 foot
The
five?
only one not over 6'5", obviously, but who's still a really tall lad and is left-footed is Brandthwaite. And I think ideally, long term, he is the left-footed option for England. Margay, he can also play on the left side, but he is right-footed. But the thing with Dan Burn is it helps to just have such a big presence in
Mm.
both boxes when you need a goal or when you desperately need to defend the goal. And I think Tuchel recognizes both the advantages in having that and also the sheer professionalism which
I was going to
Dan
say,
Burn has shown over the last couple of years in what has been
yeah,
not only an ever-changing backline at Newcastle, but also a really, really solid backline for a number of seasons now under Eddie Howe. And he has been the absolute leader in that backline. So I think he absolutely deserves his seat on the plane.
yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you just said there. And when it comes to the England centre backs, well, just any centre backs really, like in Newcastle, I like two left footers and two right footers. That's
Mhm.
what I like. If that's Burn and Branthwaite on the left, and then say Gurhey and Stones on the right, then or whatever that may be. I'd like two left footers, two right footers,
Yeah,
or two
I
left
agree.
siders, two right footers. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's good. But the Branthwaite's not been called up though, has he?
No, he hasn't. I think that's a really interesting one. He has been struggling a bit with fitness at Everton, but I mean, he has to be at least in the danger zone to miss out on the World Cup over the summer because he hasn't seen a lot of minutes for England. And with Margay being able to play both sides, maybe Tuchel feels there's less need for someone who is as inexperienced as he is. And I also believe Konza has to be on the plane because Konza is really, really great and can also operate in that right back role, which is
Yeah, I
really
like
useful
Conte.
to have.
I've seen him sort of up close and personal, and he looks really strong and solid and fit.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do like Konza, to be fair. Yeah, Konza's a good. You can't really fit. So maybe it's Burn Gahey on the left side, and then Konza and Stones on the
Yeah.
right side.
As for
When you're looking at it as a squad going to the
mhm.
World Cup,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
maybe someone like a Branthwaite as an
Mhm.
extra sort of centre back if you need one.
That could be very useful. Yeah, the problem we also have is that Colwell is out for the entire season now with his ACL injury,
Oh,
so he's
I didn't
probably
know
going
that.
to. Yeah, he's probably going to miss the World Cup as well, or be back just before the World Cup, in which case I would just leave him at home and give him that extra month rest because it's such a big injury to come back from.
Yeah, wasn't. Yeah, I'm just thinking, wasn't Tuchel playing Colwell as a fullback at once upon a time?
Um, I think
Or was that a mistake?
he definitely has played some games at left back, whether that's for England or for Chelsea, I don't remember, but he definitely
Oh,
has
yeah.
done so. So that could be very useful as well, given the fact that this is the next position we want to talk about, left back. Obviously, Hall isn't in the squad because he's still struggling for fitness. The same with Livramento, who is now injured. But thank God it's not as serious as we first feared with his
Agree,
knee
agree.
injury. Because I do think Livramento will be on the plane. The only reason I think Livramento could miss out, but it's probably going to be a 26-man squad, so I don't think he will miss out. But the only reason he could miss out is Jet Spence. Because when it comes to our fullbacks, Jet Spence is the best defender we have in any fullback zone at this moment in time,
Right,
and
fair enough. Yeah,
he has the versatility to play both on the left and the right as well because he's keeping Udogi out of the team at Spurs on the left.
yeah, yeah,
But in
yeah,
an ideal world, I'd bring both.
yeah. We have seen Tino's man get past him a few times.
Mhm.
As to be said, at Newcastle anyway. But
Yeah,
no, I think Tino has to be. I think just edging it above Jed Spence in my opinion. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
biased. Probably I'm biased. I don't know. But the
I,
fact that he can play both sides as well, and like you say,
mhm. I think it's not necessarily biased because Tino Livramento has probably the higher chance of producing a match-winning performance than Jet Spence does. But I do
mm,
think when we are up against it or when we are defending a lead, having someone like Jet Spence in the squad is really useful. If we are
mm,
picking four fullbacks, um, two right backs, two left backs. On the left hand side, I think he's going to bring Miles Lewis Kelly. He is struggling for game time a bit at Arsenal as well, but he seems to be a player that fits what Thomas Tuchel wants from his fullbacks, which is moving into the midfield. He fits that role really well. And then the second left back shout, I think that's going to be Livramento in a way, because on the right, I think it's going to be Reece James for sure if he's fit, because Tuchel absolutely loves Reece James. There's no way he's not bringing a fit Reece James.
well, yeah. And then you said if he's fit, so he's not going there, is he?
Exactly. Exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then there's one other big question in the right back slot. Trent. Trent
What's
at
that? Sorry.
Real Madrid. Trent
Yeah,
Alexander-Arnold.
Terry. Yeah, Trent. Yeah. Well, I mean, the right back is a bit clustered, isn't it? Because you got your Reece
Mm-hmm.
James if he is fit. You got Trent if he's fit. Either good. Then you got sort of Tino, Jed Spence. The list goes on. Trippier's retired kindly, so
Yeah.
that's less of a headache.
Yeah. But
But
Walker, I mean, Walker isn't retired, but he's probably not coming simply due to the fact
no,
he's
no, no.
playing for
We can't have
Burnley.
Walker. He's lost all his pace. But the on the left hand side though, just going back onto the left, I
Mm-hmm.
think Hall's a massive shout. I saw him back in against Bournemouth, and he just played absolutely fantastic for 90 minutes. Just brilliant. Like what a performance from him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just going to go on, and I think he's going to have a really good season. You mentioned Lewis Skelly there. Right here, right now, sending them all on the plane. Then, yeah, Lewis Skelly, I believe, has got a shout. But come the end of the season, he's not playing. He's not having minutes for Arsenal. So unless something massively changes at Arsenal,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's a bit like with Trafford. Why would you take somebody who's not playing?
I
And
agree. Yeah.
unless he can force himself into that Arsenal team, I don't think he's going to have a chance. Whereas you're going to have Lewis Hall, who's going to be our predominant left back, and
Mm-hmm.
Tino, who's going to have the minutes. So if it's a sort of a toss up against them, I think that you're going to go with the guys who've got the minutes. I'm quietly confident that we'll have both of our fullbacks on the plane, Hall and Livramento. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am. Whether they actually get in the first starting 11 or not, I don't know. Obviously, that'll depend on form and a lot of other things, and
Yeah,
other people's form and other people's fitness
exactly.
levels.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think that's a really big one as well. Especially
yeah,
with the Lewis Kelly shout. You're right. He's sitting on the bench and Calafiori has started the season on absolute fire. So it doesn't seem likely he's going to come back in anytime soon. And if he
yeah.
doesn't come back in this season, it should be Hall. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't take Reece James because if he is by some absolute miraculously, after the end of a campaign, he's fit.
Hmm.
Then he's not. Is he going to play tournament football? Is he going to play on a Monday and then play on a Thursday and then play on a Tuesday? I mean, the man can barely manage one a month,
Yeah.
let alone three. Let alone three in a week. I mean, he's a very good player. Like,
Hmm.
he's a brilliant. He's massive, especially his
Absolutely. Yeah.
set pieces as well. Like, yeah, I mean, I do like him, but I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look at it realistically, haven't you?
Hmm. Yeah, completely agree because it is a congested month. It is many games in 1 month, so you do have to look at fitness as well. Does that mean the four fullbacks we are bringing are Tino, Lewis Hall, Jet Spence, and Trent?
Yeah, but then, like you say, it is a 26-man squad, so you can have two teams plus an extra, maybe
Hmm.
one in
I
each
think
position.
I
So I'm
think it
thinking
is two in each position and three
an extra
wildcards,
four.
if I'm not mistaken,
Right, well, yeah, three
because
or
it is
four, but
through three goalkeepers. So 22 plus an extra goalkeeper is 23, and it is a 26-man squad, so three wildcards in the end.
yeah. So I
All
think
right.
you could potentially chuck Reece James in on there then, because even if you can just say chuck him on for the last sort of 20 minutes in the game, you could just pop up with a free kick or something like that. So I think definitely chuck Reece James in there as your first sort of outfield wild card. I know
All
it's
right.
sort of I'd rather take Reece James as that than like use your wild card up on Branthwaite, if I'm honest.
I think I agree with that one as well. Especially given the
Mm.
fact that you do have someone like Margehi who can play both sides, Konza who can play centre back and fullback. I do like having an
And
extra fullback as well.
Burn can play left back as well.
Yeah, completely agree. And we do have the opportunity to play back five as well with those players because Gehi plays at
Yeah,
a club football. I think Konza has done so as well. So
yeah,
yeah, that is
yeah.
definitely and Burn will be doing so as well this season a couple of times, I believe. All right. If we were to move on to the midfield, then the players who have been called up are Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs White, Jordan Henderson, Ruben Loftus Cheek, Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers, and I mean, whether or not you class him as a midfielder, Eberiche Eze. The players who missed out on the squad, um, Conor Gallagher, Adam Wharton, Jude Bellingham, as we said before. Job I've put on here simply because he's Dortmund's record signing, but I don't think he's anywhere near the squad at this moment in time. And Phil Foden, which is a very interesting case in and of itself. Really quickly before we get into those midfielders, I want to give a quick shout out on in the fullback zone to Nico O'Reilly from Manchester City as well, because I think he's
Yeah,
coming close to the England squad, especially
yeah.
given the fitness issues there.
Yeah. If Reece James doesn't make it through fitness, maybe he should be the wild card instead of Reece James.
Agreed. I think that's a really good shout because he is really impressing me at Manchester City at this moment in time.
Yeah, he did some good stuff last season as well.
Very much so. I remember in the FA Cup when Bournemouth were leading against them, he came on in at halftime and he definitely changed the game for them, which for such a young player is a really impressive feat. As for the midfielders, so we already touched on the fact that Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs White are back in the squad, and we really like those picks. What do we think of Jordan Henderson?
I've always disliked him for obvious reasons because he's a
Hmm.
Mackham.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like I've always been very vehemently against him, saying, "Come on, like he's gone over to the Saudi, what can you do?" But in fairness to, and I've always been like dead against him, especially since he moved over to Saudi. I thought for me that's him retired. He shouldn't be nowhere near the England squad. But to be fair to him, he's come back to the Premier League and he's come back to Brentford, and I watched Brentford Man U game, and he played fantastic. I have to say, I don't want to say it, but he did. And he's been playing some good stuff for Brentford. And he's been playing some good stuff for England. And from what you can hear behind the scenes, he's a good professional to have in and around that environment. And that obviously that goes somewhere. That's got some weight behind it. It might us lamest people that aren't really involved in football might not necessarily see that side of it, and we might just think, oh no, that's just. But ex pros and even current pros that are saying, no, it's from what I can sort of gather, it is an important aspect to have a player with the mindset and the mentality and the professionalism like that. And
Yeah.
we've seen it ourselves as well. When you think about players that we thought were past it, they've actually been integral behind the scenes, such as Matt Ritchie, Paul Dummett,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Jamal Lascelles, to a lesser extent, Emil Kraft. I said to a lesser extent because he's not as past it as the rest of them.
Hmm.
But then Eddie Howe kept sort of defending them, saying, "No, no, these are brilliant players to have around the scenes." And
Yeah.
look at where he got us. He got us in such good positions. So I think there is some weight to
Absolutely.
that. So So to be fair, I'm not going to be on John Henderson's case as much now. I think I've
Mhm.
come to accept that. Do you know what? And I like Conor Gallagher, and then I looked at him at the England setup when we was playing the friendly against Senegal and stuff like that, and he didn't really look right. And I don't really know what he's doing at the minute. So where is he now? Sorry, Conor Gallagher, is it Atletico Madrid still?
Yeah, he's at
Yeah,
Atletico, yeah.
I don't
But
really don't
he's
really watch
mostly a
rugby that
bench
much.
player right there. He does come off the bench a couple of times, but he's not really a starter.
Yeah, because the reason I went on to Conor Gallagher was something if you take Anderson out, who would you put in? And I think we've already got enough attacking options because I think Elliot Anderson, Gibbs White, and Eze are just brilliantly going forward and attacking, and
Mhm.
getting Morgan Rogers as well. So you've already got that. But then for the defensive side of things, you're looking at sort of. I know Elliot Anderson can play in that sort of six role with Rice,
Yeah.
but then you're looking at that. But then you look around and there's not really many other players that can do that. So probably Henderson that's gives it the balance that you need.
Mhm. Yeah. I,
So
with Henderson, I do hope. I mean, I completely hear what you're saying, but I do hope we don't take him as a player to the World Cup. What I hope is that there has been a conversation with him and Thomas Tuchel behind the scenes where he's gone, listen, I'm gonna keep calling you up to the national team because I want you to help me smooth over the transition from Southgate into my football, and you were kind of one of the figureheads of the Southgate era. But I hope a part of that agreement is that he's brought to the World Cup as a coaching staff member, more instead of being a player. That would be
yeah,
because I do think it would be a waste of one of your 26-man picks,
it,
especially
it would.
given the talent we do possess in midfield,
It would.
especially if a player like Adam Wharton were to miss out in favor of Jordan Henderson. I think that would be an absolute shame because
Yeah,
Adam Wharton is
I do
again,
like Adam Wharton. I
yeah,
do like
he
Adam
he has
Wharton.
such a unique skill set. In Declan Rice is maybe more similar to Elliot Anderson in the fact that they like having the ball at their feet and then driving forward with it. I think Elliot Anderson is a bit more skillful in the way he does it. He gets out of a bit more difficult areas. But with Adam Wharton, he just sits and his passing ability, his progressive passes are scary. It's genuinely scary. The only young midfielder in world football who comes close to his passing statistics is Alexander Pavlovic at Bayern Munich. So he is a really, really nice weapon to have sitting right in
Yeah,
front of your defense.
no, yeah, I agree. I think I didn't know about the stats, but yeah, every time I see him sort of play for Palace, he always puts in a good shift. To be fair to him, doesn't really put a foot wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I suppose your number sixes then could be taken up if you're playing two of them, which I
Yeah.
assume it would be. Then you're looking at Rice, Bellingham,
Mm-hmm.
Wharton,
Yeah.
and Elliot Anderson potentially.
I think it's going to. I think Rice and Bellingham are pretty much nailed on starters in that side. So I think it will depend on the opponent, and given the opponents, he will rotate between Wharton and Elliot Anderson. That's how I would play it because I do think those are your two players with the highest ceiling and the most added ability to what you already have in the squad right now.
Yeah. But then again, I'm just trying to think though. If we're going to be playing it like that, then we've got the extra midfielder option. I'm going for the number 8, so then you can obviously have
Mm-hmm.
that as Eze or Morgan Rogers. Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, if we have a three-man midfield, I'd play Rice next to either Wharton or Elliot Anderson and play Bellingham in the 10. But
No, you want
in
Bellingham 10.
games, yeah, in games we are playing a bit more possession football against teams who are going to sit back against us. I do think having Eze in at number 10 would be a very interesting shout because he's showing at Arsenal when he's given time and freedom in zone 14, which is just in front of the opposition's penalty area, he can be really dangerous because he likes taking his time picking out the perfect ball. So with
Mm.
runners in the box like Saka, like Kane to pick out, he will understand Saka's runs a bit more at that point as well. Maybe Noni Madueke's runs a bit more. That could be really, really exciting. So that's
Yeah,
maybe a
yeah.
good shout as well.
Well, the good thing about sort of like your players like Elliot Anderson and Bellingham, I think, is that they're almost in between 6 and 8, so they can
Mm-hmm.
play either, and
Yeah.
that's brilliant if you think about it, because you can switch it up in a game without actually making a substitution. You can just say, but if you've got a three-man midfield and you're playing two number sixes with one number 8, and one of those number sixes is Bellingham,
Mm-hmm.
very easy to just say, right, I'm going to push Bellingham further forward and we'll just play one number 6.
Exactly.
Look, judging on how a game's going to go. And if you're playing a similar opponent, let's just say, I don't know, let's say we're playing someone like a Denmark, who not exactly a lower side, but they're not exactly a world beater either. Very hard especially if they go into the tournament. And
Yeah.
let's say if it's Denmark in the group stage, we might want to sort of set up cautious. But then if we go back and we're chasing, then we're going to have to go forward again. Or alternatively, if we get a goal, then we might think actually we need to sort of, So I think players like Bellingham and Anderson in them instances are good because they can just switch it right up, can't they?
Yeah, you're absolutely
not
right.
You're not committed to a Wharton, but you're not committed to an Eze. So you're in between them. So yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, I think we've agreed on them four, then haven't we? Sorry, four. What have we though? So it's six we need, isn't it? For the midfield.
Yeah. So we do have 5 names already. If we take Eze as well. So the 2 players from the number 10 role are Bellingham and Eze. The 2 sixes are Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton. And then you have Rice, who I don't think we necessarily need to bring a backup for, because if Rice were to drop out, for which I mean would be a disaster, but if worse comes to worse and he would drop out, I would just play Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton next to each other. It's maybe a bit light on the defensive end, but I don't really see an out-and-out destroyer when it comes to England number 6s.
Yeah. Sean Longstaff's probably not going to get a call up.
Exactly, and I mean Longstaff has gotten a bit more of a free role at Leeds as well right now, so he'd probably feel restricted in that role. Maybe as our 6th midfielder, we just bring Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
If we're saying Bellingham is your Rice backup, and
so you're saying Bellingham, Rice, Anderson, Wharton. Who's the other one?
Eze and Rogers.
And Rogers, yeah. Maybe then, because I can't see. It seems too logical to bring Henderson as a coach. That just seems like the perfect scenario. Bring him as a coach. He's part of the coaching staff. He's there and thereabouts. He can put a kit on if he wants. He can put a kit on if he wants and run around the grass with them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking with Henderson.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's not happened. I think he's going to get picked, and I think maybe we might have to concede and well, we're running low on strikers anyway, and we've already got we've already got 2 wild cards left, so we can use one on the wing. So we probably have to use wild card up as a Henderson. Not that we want to. If we're just gonna, I don't know.
We are forgetting one player who is in this squad already, and who could maybe act as that destroyer. Although I do think he is more of a number 8, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Any thoughts on him?
I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. I mean, I know him from obviously his Chelsea days and when he was in the Premier League. But when he's gone, is he AC Milan now?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I don't really watch the Real.
The thing is, he isn't anywhere near AC Milan's most important player, but I don't mind Tuchel having brought him up, because he is a really physical presence in the midfield, and his talent levels, if you believe anyone, and I do mean anyone who's ever played with him, this is one of the most talented players all of them have ever seen. So if Tuchel has the same opinion on him and he wants to bring him as his wild card to maybe have a bit more stability in the team, I wouldn't mind that as well. So Henderson,
I'd much prefer Loftus-Cheek as the wild card as opposed to Henderson.
Me too. So are we choosing Loftus-Cheek as our
Loftus-Cheek and then pencil Henderson in on this slash just to in case we have an injury to somebody and then he has to sort of step up to the mark.
He is quite injury prone himself, Loftus-Cheek, so it's probably going to be necessary.
So I suppose to concede having Henderson as a second choice wild card, then
I mean, he'd probably take it himself right now, given all the flack he gets from all the other England fans.
Yeah, I suppose that's about as much as we can give him at the minute. But yeah, like I said, my opinion on him has changed because he's come back to the Premier League. He's not playing in Saudi Arabia, and he's playing good stuff, to be fair to him.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. All right, before we move on to the attackers, I do think we forgot about one player in our midfield discussion. it is concerning the number 10 role. Would you prefer to take Morgan Rogers or Morgan Gibbs-White?
Yeah, I got them mixed up actually in our last piece. The I was meant to say Morgan Gibbs White instead of Morgan Rogers. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I just think, with those, it's just going to go on form. I think it's just going to go on form, which it should
Mhm.
do for everybody. Which it should do for everybody. But
Yeah.
I think for them, it's more like what are they going to do? Like if Bellingham has a dip just before the World Cup, you can still take him because you know what he can do, and you're same with
Mhm.
Declan Rice, etc. But with those two, I think that if one's on fire for Forest or the other one's on fire for Villa, then I think you have to just go by what you see. And yeah, and because they're both at a very similar age, aren't they, as well? Both have very similar sort of levels of development in their career. So yeah, I don't know what your stance is on that. I don't know if you've got a preference one or the other.
If I mean, I do agree. You probably have to pick them on form because there's probably not much between them. But if I'm the one who's choosing and form, there isn't much between them either. At come the end of the season, I think I would bring Rogers because Rogers brings that wing fielder ability, which Eze brings, but to both sides. And his raw attributes, his pace, his physicality, the way he drives with the ball at his feet, I think those are a little bit more useful, especially in one-off games, than Morgan
Mm.
Gibbs-White. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is a more useful leader for the dressing room over an entire season. So maybe I prefer him at my club, but for a short tournament, I think I'd take Rogers.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair enough to say that. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them both try and dive at St James's Park. I've seen Morgan give Joe Linton brush Morgan Rogers' arm, and he went down holding his face right in front of the Gallagher.
Mm,
And yeah, I wasn't impressed at that. Trying to get Joe Linton sent off, and then obviously very recently we've seen Gibbs White run into
yeah,
Bruno, and then Bruno passed to Burn passed to Bruno scores the goal, and then they're trying to get it ruled out because Morgan Morgan Gibbs White's on the floor. So
I
I've
remember.
got
Yeah,
slightly tainted views of them both. Really, I'm very Newcastle biased in my opinions and emotions. So, uh,
which you should
but
be, which you absolutely should be.
but no, I mean, like I said, I think you've hit the nail on the hit. You've hit the nail on the head there with in terms of those two players, and I think I agree with you. I think
Mhm.
Morgan Rogers edges it. I think he wouldn't look out of place in the midfield as a number 10 or even on the left, or you know what I mean, and that sort of
Absolutely.
thing,
Yeah.
or on the right. He could probably play in any of those attacking positions if needs be.
Mhm.
Whereas with Gibbs White, it's just that number 10 role, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely completely agree with you. The Gibbs White does often kind of drift wide, but more so drifts wide like Bellingham drifts left. It's not necessarily a touchline hugger, which Rogers can absolutely be. So yeah, you're completely right. You get more use, I think, out of Rogers in more different roles than you do with Gibbs White. As for the attackers, the right flank is the one where I want to start with. For this set of fixtures, we have called up two right wingers, which are Bukayo Saka, who is now back in the squad, and I think is an absolutely guaranteed pick on the plane. Would you say Bukayo Saka?
Yeah, 100%. Saka's in.
Saka is in, and the same can be said for Harry Kane, probably in the striker role.
Yes, 100%.
The backup for Bukayo Saka is probably a little more interesting. He might have gotten injured recently and miss 2 months, but I think it should be Noni Madueke for the start he's had to his Arsenal career and generally the player I think he is because I do really rate Madueke very highly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I prefer Jacob Murphy. I'm not even joking when I say that. I'm not even joking.
I mean,
But yeah, but I mean, we only don't talk about Murphy because he's never selected. But if you're on about, who I'd want Murphy over Madueke any day of the week, any
mhm,
day of the week. Just on his output, on his effort, on his sort of reading of the game, on his consistency, on his sort of ability to assist and to cross, and there's something about having a right footer on the right wing, just like it. But yeah, I don't know because obviously when you've already got Saka who's left footed who cuts in,
mhm.
to have another Saka
Yeah,
that's not as good as Saka isn't really. getting you anywhere, is it? It's like, oh, Saka's not playing very well, so let's bring Saka off for someone who's worse than him,
Hmm.
or bring Saka on for someone who's different than him. You know what I mean? Like, obviously,
Hmm.
Saka's better than Murphy. I'm not saying he isn't, but at least with Murphy, you have a different dynamic, a more defensive one. You've got a right-footed one. He approaches it different. I think Madueke is just like it's like he's just a Saka from Lidl. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I know he can play both flanks, and I know he's done well at the start of his Arsenal, thing. He's got a bit of a. He's had a change of clubs and stuff like that, and boost confidence. Look, I'm not saying he shouldn't go on the plane, Madueke, because he plays on both flanks. I think he should definitely go. And I know Murphy's not going to go, but I just thought I'd put it out there. But yeah,
That's exactly it. I think you do make a really interesting point because he does have a lot of r- similarities to his game compared to Saka. Madueke does, and a different profile like Murphy could genuinely be very interesting if you want something different from your flanks in a game. But if Jacob Murphy was to be on the plane, I think we would have seen him be called up to the
yeah,
national team
he's
at the
he's
end of
he's not
last
going on the plane.
season.
Yeah, yeah, he should have got called up at the end of
Hmm.
last season, and he never did. And
Exactly.
that was the time to call him up, and it's gone now.
Mm.
So that ship sailed, unfortunately.
I think so too.
Yeah,
But as for Madueke being on the plane as a wild card shout because he can play on both flanks, I do like that as well. So I'll put
but
him in there for now.
I'll say this then. So if it's Saka and Madueke on the right, just say for argument's sake, both of those two get injured, then who? Because this is what Tuchel's
This
done by
is
not selecting
yeah.
Murphy for the friendlies. He could have given him some international experience and would have had some sort of competition on that right. But now because he's not selected Murphy, we're
I
sort of
think
where do
mhm.
we go?
I
Where do we
think
go?
you've convinced me in. I'll leave Madueke as a wild card for now, but as Saka's backup, I think you've convinced me into going for Jared Bowen because I think I completely agree with what you're saying about having a different profile on the wing compared to Saka because Saka is going to start most games anyway. So the only reason you're really bringing him off is because you want something different. So you do make some
Bowen's a
really
shout.
interesting points. Yeah, I think.
Bowen's a shout.
What do you think about Bowen as a player?
Yeah, I like Bowen. I do like Bowen. I don't for England though. I wouldn't say he's a starter at all.
No, 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 no.
Someone if you want something different from a game. But the only problem is that usually when you're wanting something different from a game and you're wanting to change it up, you're chasing a lead.
Hmm.
And in that moment when you sorry, not chasing, you're sorry, you're chasing a goal. You're
Yeah,
behind and you're chasing a goal. And is he the sort of person that you want when you're chasing a goal?
I mean, he whenever West Ham scores, he is involved,
Yeah,
and
I know.
he's a
I know.
really really direct winger because he's also. I mean, maybe apart from one person who we will come on to in the left wing, I think he's the only winger who is also somewhat capable of playing through the middle.
Yeah, he plays up top. He plays up top better than Gordon plays up top.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
if
So
you had to play one of them up front, I'd rather it be Bowie.
yeah, or maybe even playing off of Harry Kane and with with four in midfield if we're sewing everything shut in a really difficult time. That could be really interesting as well. So I think I'm going to include Bowen as a Saka backup and Madueke as the wildcard option because he can play on both wings. Which takes us to the left wing. I think Gordon is on the plane. I don't think there's
Oh,
any
he's
discussion.
he's not just on the plane. He's on the first
I
team
think
sheet.
so too. I think so too because he is on the one hand, the type of winger which Thomas Tuchel absolutely loves, someone who hugs the touchline, can cut inside on his preferred foot, isn't easy to dispossess, and is blisteringly fast. So that's
I'm going to say something now. Sorry, there's a number 10. Do you know when we was talking about Rogers or Gibbs White?
mm-hmm.
I'm going to say neither.
Ooh.
I'm going to say Foden as a number 10, where he should
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
If he plays, if there's a big if he carries on the form that he's been showing of recent times, and he carries on that through the season, and I think he's getting played as a number 10 at City now more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his position, isn't it? It's not on the left. I hate to see Foden on the left. It's so
Yeah,
ineffective.
especially in an England system which wants its white players to uh I mean, open up the pitch to hug the touchline so there's more space in between your midfielders. Having
If
someone
you really,
who
yeah, yeah,
runs
yeah.
into Bellingham's way all of the time is really annoying.
And if you really are struggling through, say, availability on the left, then you can put him on the left if you need to. But I would not. But no, I mean, yeah, I'd say that's another headache for that one. Because the reason what made me think of it is because I'm thinking if not Gordon on the left, then who? And the names that popped into my head was Grealish and Foden. And I'm
There
thinking, but
is
I don't want to see Gordon and Foden there.
there's one more name who is in the squad now, yes, and was in the previous squad as well. And that name is Marcus Rashford.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. He's been doing very well for Barcelona, as we know very personally.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Well,
he
I
is
think,
one who has blistering pace, can go in behind,
yeah.
and likes to
Well,
hug the touchline as
well,
well.
and he's got all the makeup of it, hasn't he? Because he's left Manchester United, which, as we know, when you leave Manchester United, that is the ingredients you need to be a world beater.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah. No. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's exciting, actually. Then. So I'm thinking. First of all, I don't want Foden in the left side argument.
Mhm.
I'd rather have Foden in the number 10 argument.
All right. I've put Foden in the squad with Eze in the number 10, and I've left the wild card for the midfield so we can have a discussion later on whether it should be Loftus Cheek or
Yeah.
one of the number 10s.
So yeah, so you've sold me that. I'm thinking Gordon and Rashford, but
I
that's a
think so too.
good battle because you need someone to kick
Absolutely.
Gordon at the arse. You need someone to
Absolutely.
kick. All right,
And
saying
the same
Gordon's on
for
the
the
pitch.
same with Rashford, to be fair.
Yeah, well, yeah, both of them. They need to batter off each other because when you leave Gordon to his own devices, he seems to. I don't know. He
Mhm.
does. When you speak within the interviews, you think he's such a professional. He's so
Yeah.
focused. But he seems to get complacent in games, and you're like,
Hmm.
that's not the person that talks on interviews. Like, why can't you deliver what you talk about? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Hmm.
and he says, oh, "I'm not a confidence player. I'm focused on this. I'm driven." Well, then show it because, like, for a large
Absolutely.
part of the
No,
last 6 months
absolutely.
of football, I've not really seen it.
And
So
I do think with Rashford as well, this is Anthony Gordon's first major tournament, so that is a big deal for him. Marcus Rashford has done it before. He has shown up at major tournaments for England, so
yeah,
that is a really big positive, and I think a mark for him to come to this tournament as well. And the
yeah.
fact that he can play somewhat in the striker role as well. Then the only name which we haven't discussed yet is Harry Kane's backup. I think that's a really short discussion because the only Ivan Toney isn't really an option anymore. I think he's too similar to Harry Kane. He
I
kind of
was gonna, I I was thinking Tony could be an option.
yeah.
Just yeah, because you know what,
It
it's
is
with that.
Tony, Watkins, or the Lap is basically our options for the
Well,
backup.
obviously, the lap's injured and Watkins now injured. He
Mhm.
looks injured. Is he injured? Watkins, he looks
I
injured
don't
when he.
I think he scored for Villa, didn't he, on the weekend?
No, I mean just now against Wales, he looked like
Oh
he got
yeah,
injured.
yeah. I remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard anything of that, so I
He
don't know
did he collide with the post? He didn't look good. I know that.
Mhm.
So yeah, like obviously it's early days because it's a while back, but then you got the lap that's injured as well. So it's really hard to pick injured players that are currently injured.
Absolutely.
We know they're going to come back. Watkins, I mean, we can't forget what he did against Netherlands at the semi-final, but
Mhm.
and obviously his last sort of couple of seasons for Villa have been good. But my gosh, he's been diabolical at the start of
Yeah,
this season.
yeah, he has.
And he needs to pick up form and pick up form fast. But you know, what makes me think about Tony is it's not like all the other positions. You just want someone who's ruthless, who's going to put the ball in the net with a moment's opportunity. A bit like what Callum Wilson used to do in his
Mhm.
heyday for Newcastle. Just someone who's
Yeah,
just going to have that half chance, bamps in the back of the net. That's what you want. And I think Tony can do that. And if you get a penalty, do you want anyone else taking it or
yeah,
Tony?
that is one as
Like,
well. I
so,
even think it isn't the worst thing in the world to bring someone just because they are great at penalties.
yeah. Well,
I,
Tony is almost as good as Voltemada, apparently.
I mean,
Can I just say on a
I'd
post?
like to see him put it top bins like Voldemort did, so
I don't know if
especially with
it's
the run
true.
up he does.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but I think someone's putting that in the contender for goal of the month. I mean, he's not going to get goal of the month, but if Voltemada's penalty makes it into the contenders for goal of the month, that's
That is
got to be a first.
that is absolutely unheard of. I think. Yeah,
It's got to be a first,
absolutely.
but I wouldn't be surprised because that was some bloody penalty. That was wow.
He just won't score a normal goal for us, really. I mean, I'm all
No,
for it. I'm all for it. Keep
but
on coming.
yeah, but you know, yeah.
Um,
So I
on
don't know. I
Tony,
mean,
yeah.
but have
I
we got enough wild cards to include them both, Watkins and Tony?
then we do need to get rid of either one number 10 or one or Madueke.
No, I don't know. I'm thinking there's no use taking three if you've got so many players that
No.
can actually play that position. But I'm not sold on Watkins or Tony. I think Watkins, Tony, and Delap. Well, I suppose it's not really so much Tony. You have to leave Tony out. I think it's between Watkins and Delap
Hmm.
to see who's gonna fight it out for that position. Who's gonna find form? Who's gonna be on fire? Who's gonna be
Yeah.
firing on all cylinders come the end of the season?
Hmm.
And if it's Delap, then Delap goes in. If it's Watkins, if Watkins goes in. And I think if it's neither, it's Tony. But the way I'd see it at this precise moment in time is I'd see it as I don't know, because before he got injured, Delap was good.
Yeah. And I do
Um,
think the lap is the most similar profile to Kane in the fact that Kane is going to drop deep for us yet again this summer. I think that's something England fans are going to have to prepare themselves for because he is going to do that yet again. And a lot of
mm,
people are going to dislike him for it, but it seems to be something Thomas Tuchel wants to get the best out of. And I mean, he's done
it's
so for
crazy.
Bayern Munich as well. And
It's crazy. Everything you look up. Kane gets the ball deep. He can play a brilliant pass. He looks up, and there's nobody there because it should be him.
that's that has been a problem for England. You're right, but I think that's been a problem because of wingers like Foden. Anthony Gordon will be there, and Marcus Rashford will
Yeah,
be there for those
yeah.
because they live for those balls in behind. Just like
Mm.
your Elangas, for example, at Newcastle, they are consistently itching to get that ball, which is why it is so effective for us that Voltemade drops in front of those two as well. So I think there is something to be done there with Harry Kane, but then you do have to have pace on the wings.
I
I
just
don't
I
see
just
any
like the
other
focal
striker.
point. Yeah, call me old fashioned. I just love a focal point. Because if
No,
you've not
yeah,
got that focal point up there, I mean, all right, you can drop deep a few times and stuff, but like Voltemada dropped deep a few times. But then, like you look in the Arsenal game, when we
mhm.
needed that focal point, he was up there and he was he
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
he was on Gabriel and Gabriel was on him, and there was fat tussling for the ball every single time.
I
You need that.
wonder,
You have to have it up there.
I wonder if maybe Jude Bellingham gets a kind of Joe Linton role where whenever Kane drops deep, he kind of takes up that target man role where we do have
It's all
someone to play it long to.
it's all well and good saying this, but then when you sort of try and second guess Tuchel's tactics, it's beggars belief because,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, I'm a bit sort of disjointed from it all really because I was at the City Ground when we lost to Senegal, and that was one of the worst England performances I've ever seen. I
Hmm.
was almost I was
Absolutely.
almost I was almost offended by the performance. Like
I can imagine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Especially if
I was
you're
like
watching it in real life.
it was horrendous. It was like
Mm.
sideways, backwards passing the whole time throughout the entire team. It was just pass back, pass back, pass back, pass along the line, pass back, pass. And I was bored, and I wanted to leave. I just wanted to leave. I've never wanted to leave a match. I was with my son, and who was loving the atmosphere and all that stuff.
Hmm.
He's only a young lad, but if it wasn't for him, if I was on my own, I would have left. I would have gone.
Hmm.
Like, it was just awful to watch. So it's all right saying, "Are these players going to run in behind, and are they going to do this?" And when Kane drops back, is someone going to run? But we've actually got to do that, and we've got to see that in games, and we haven't seen it for such a long time. That sort of the movement that you're talking
Yeah.
about there, we
I
haven't
think
seen it in South.
the Serbia game was a good example of this England team actually clicking and actually getting some good football together. But you're absolutely right in saying we have not seen that nearly enough from this team.
Well,
It is,
especially I'm just looking. I'm just sort of solely concentrating on tournament football when I
yeah.
sort of say that. So when you're looking at tournament football, I can't remember the last time we've gone to a tournament and and played exciting football like that.
Mhm.
I mean, what I think it was it. Did we play Honduras and Iran and
In
in not the last World Cup? Was it the last World Cup? I don't know. Or was it two World Cups? I
um,
don't know.
I think
We we battered Honduras and we battered Iran.
Panama and Tunisia
Oh,
in the same World Cup group with Belgium. That was in 2018, I think.
so what was the one we played Iran in? Played Iran in one, and we played. I'm sure we played Honduras and beat them 6-1. Did we not?
I think you're right about Iran, but I think Honduras was a different team.
No, not Honduras. It might have been Panama then.
Um, I don't think I'm going to find this quick enough.
No, it's all right. My point being is that yeah, we battered them like 6-1, and we
Yeah.
played good stuff there. And
Mhm.
actually, that was the first. That was the opening game of the group stage, and it was Gareth Southgate's first tournament football.
Then it was
Uh,
2018. Yeah, yeah, it was
and yeah,
Panama.
and we had the most shots on target than any other team in all of the group stages in opening games. And I thought that's a good stat to have. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, this is a sign of things to come. Unbeknown to me, it really, really wasn't a sign of things to come. But yeah, so at the time, so yeah, but I'm just thinking, it's all well and good saying this, but anyway, we're sidetracking. So we're looking at the strikers, and we say
Yeah.
Kane.
Um,
Yeah,
I must say, given what we've said about the three strikers who are in contention, I doubt Delap is going to get enough game time for Chelsea to be in real contention. And with Watkins, if he picks up his form again, he'll probably be there. But if we are making this squad, I think I would take Tony. One for the penalties and one for the ruthlessness.
yeah, just get them. All you need to do is get the ball in the net. You don't really
Especially,
care.
yeah, exactly.
You don't really care how you do it. You just need to be and in the right place at the right time. You need a knack for it, and you need to get on the half chance, get the ball in the net. That's all you need to do. I'm not bothered
Exactly.
about. I'm not bothered about running. I mean, Watkins is good if you're going to play counter-attacking football, but then who are we going to play counter-attacking football against? Because we're going to be in the same group as our challengers are not going to be against Brazil and France and Germany. Our challenges are always the early group stage. We can't beat teams like Bosnia and Herzegovina or something like that.
Exactly. I don't
Know,
think I've ever seen us get 9 out of 9. It's always 7 out of 9. Always.
but yeah, but it's like they're the matches that we struggle in. Tournament. I mean, I sort of say, oh, it's teams like Hungary and teams that we should be beating. But you got to respect the teams. It's a tournament. It's in a different country. International football. It's different. So they're our challenges. And are you really going to be playing on a counter-attacking football in those matches? I don't think you are. So, but then again, I understand that you do want someone different to Kane, though, don't you? So I
Hmm.
think we all lend ourselves to Tony there, aren't we? Really.
Yeah,
But you'll get a lot of people. You'll get a lot
I
of
like
people that
it.
quite rightly so say, "Oh, hold on a minute, no, he's gone to Saudi Arabia. You can't have him."
Yeah.
And I get that. I do get that.
There is not a single possibility, not a single possible England squad which keeps everybody happy, I think. So, yeah,
One that wins wouldn't do that.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Then the one position we haven't decided upon is the last wild card for our midfield. This is in between Loftus-Cheek and or Loftus-Cheek slash Jordan Henderson or Morgan Gibbs-White slash Morgan Rogers.
Mm.
Do we need more attacking reinforcements or defensive reinforcements in this midfield? Is basically what I'm asking you. The names we've got down are Rice, Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Bellingham, Eze, and Foden.
Gosh, that's a good midfield, isn't it?
That is a really good midfield.
That'd win the Premier League, that midfield.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, do you, gosh, yeah. I mean, then again, though, like there's a lot of those players that can play into intertwining positions and stuff.
Mhm.
And have we have we got Bowen as a wild card, or is he Bowen just going?
Bowen is going as the backup to Saka.
Right. So the wild cards we need to choose are
Is either Loftus Cheek, Jordan Henderson, Morgan Rogers, or Morgan Gibbs White. One of those four players.
um it's gonna have to be a game changer, isn't it? It's gonna have to I think it's gonna have to be Morgan Rogers.
I think I agree with you. I'd take him as well. I think it would be an absolute shame if he wasn't on the plane, just purely for the kind of talent he is.
But obviously, what we know that's going to happen is that if Morgan Gibbs White has an absolute electric season and puts in about 15 assists, he's going to miss the plane
Mhm.
because they don't choose it on form, do they? They never do, and it's so
Yeah, you're
so
right.
irritating. Come on, oh. he hasn't got England. Oh, that's what Southgate used to say, isn't it? Oh, he hasn't got international experience. You've been the manager for
Exactly.
6 years.
Yeah,
If he's not going to
exactly.
get it from you, he's not going to get it from anybody, is he? You dingbat.
No, no, you're completely right. You're completely right. In that
Yeah.
case, we have our England squad. We will take to the World Cup Pickford, Henderson, and Nick Pope. In defense, we are taking Jet Spence, Lewis Hall, Dan Burn, Mark Gahey, Ezri Konsa, John Stones, Livramento, and Trent, with our wildcard option being Reece James. And in midfield, we are bringing Declan Rice, Alan Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Jude Bellingham, Eberiche Eze, Phil Foden, and Morgan Rogers as our wildcard. In attack, we are bringing Bukayo Saka, Jared Bowen, Harry Kane, Ivan Toney, Anthony Gordon, Marcus Rashford, and Madueke as our wildcard option. I think that is a World Cup worthy squad, if you ask me.
Yeah. The only sort, yeah, that's fine by me. Yeah, yeah. The only sort of thing of that is that do you take the wild card option from Madueke and then move it up to the strikers, so you can have more of an options for strikers? That's
I
the only
think,
sort of
given the fact that we have Gordon, Rashford, and Bowen who can all
yeah. No,
deputize
you
in
solved it.
there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You solved it. Yeah, yeah. That's yeah. Yeah,
Fantastic.
we've
All right.
got plenty of players that can play there.
Yeah, we absolutely do. All right. Before we end the international football chat, I want to look ahead to the next World Cup a bit longer to see what potential Newcastle players might be heading to the World Cup. So we've already touched upon the England lads who will be going, which are Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale. We've unfortunately predicted to miss out. Livramento, Hall, and Byrne, and Gordon, who are all in the squad from our first 11s. And as for the English lads, who I think will miss out but deserve an honorable mention, Jacob Murphy, as you've said before, Harvey Barnes, and maybe if he can sustain himself, that's fitness, of course. Jacob Ramsey could be in with an outside shout.
Yeah, the only thing with Barnes and Ramsey is that there's just too much competition for places at Newcastle for them places. I
Probably.
suppose you could say the same for Murphy. Now we've got Alanga.
Mm.
I just don't see it. I think then not this World Cup, but the World Cup after, maybe Lewis Miley if he sort of starts to develop and brings it on. I think
Yeah,
Lewis
I'd
Miley's
like
good.
that as well.
Yeah, but no, I can't see anything else other than that. And, well, Sean Neve looks good. Obviously, very young, but it's obviously not for this World Cup. I'm on about sort of in 2 World Cups time.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the youngsters like Neve and Miley, they depending on their development. Obviously, a lot depends on their development. A lot to factor in, and
Mhm.
other people's development. But yeah,
Absolutely.
as far as the English lads are concerned, I think we've exhausted that, haven't we? Now, I don't think we can especially when you're looking at this World Cup. I don't think we've got any other players that.
No, I don't think so either. We do have some other nationalities who might be going to the
Yes,
World Cup, but there are some big caveats to that. So let's start off with Sweden. Sweden, we have two Swedish lads who still play for the national team in Kraft and Elanga, but Sweden are fourth in their qualifying group. So I don't think they'll
I
make
feel
it.
sorry for Alanga. I feel sorry for Alanga, but
I do too. But I
I feel with joy.
feel ex- exactly the glee I feel is bigger than the sadness I feel for Elanga, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. Yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah. We are
um,
very bitter. We are very bitter.
one player whose nation is probably going, but who somehow probably will miss out from his nation squad, Sven Botman.
Yeah, he's just been so unlucky with injuries. It's like that with Hall and Livramento. So like Livramento,
Yeah.
fully fit for so long, but then he missed out on the England squad because he was going with the under-21s to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, his next time's going to come, and then he gets injured again. So it's like sliding doors moment where you just get injured just as the squad gets called up. Like that with Lewis Hall, and I think it's like that with Sven Botman. He's had a horrid time with injuries, and he's getting
Exactly.
back into it. And the last thing that anybody wants to do is when he's sort of getting his minutes
Mm-hmm.
nurtured back up to full fitness and sort of being careful about a knee injury. It's that, oh, by the way, get on a plane and travel all across the globe
Yeah.
and play international football as well. I don't think anybody wants to do that. So I think from both a club and an international perspective, I think it was just better to let Sven just naturally get back to where he
Mm-hmm.
needs to be.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that now. So if he keeps that up, he's got to be in the Holland squad.
The thing is, he hasn't been in the Holland squad before. Even during the entire season, he was fit and playing for us. The first time around, we got Champions League football. But there is a pretty easy explanation as to why he's not really been in
Yeah.
the Holland squad, and that is the likes of Van Dijk, De Ligt, Van de Ven, Van Eyck.
Oh no, yeah. Well, Delict can sod off. He's better than Delict. Would you swap?
I
Would you swap
must
Van Dijk for Delict?
Botman,
Sorry.
Botman.
Would you swap Botman for Delict?
Um, I wouldn't, but that's because love Sven Botman personally. But I must admit as well, in the same breath, Matthijs de Ligt has been Manchester United's best player this season, which isn't saying a lot, obviously,
No, but you see, the only thing
but
with
he is
Delict is
really good.
I've seen milk turn quicker. It's just so slow.
He
I'm
is,
half
but if
expect
he
I'm
is.
expecting to have reversing sensors on him and
Mhm.
something like
No,
that.
you're
Like I
right.
don't
You're
know.
right. He does have physical. I mean, he lacks certain physical aspects to be an absolute top defender. But if he is in between the ball and the goal, you're not getting past him. That is one thing. But
Fair
the
enough.
point I was more so trying to make is that with, especially in that left hand side, the Netherlands play with Van Dijk on the left, and Liverpool do so as well. And the backup for Van Dijk is Mickey van de Ven, who has also featured a bit on in
Yeah,
at left back. And at this moment in time, the partner for Van Dijk is actually Jurien Timber, the fullback at Arsenal. So there is really not a single pathway into the first 11 for a centre back at this moment in time, because Van Hecke is getting some minutes as well, but that's because Koeman seems to really, really like him. So that's really unfortunate for Botman, because given how he has been playing this season, and I think he will continue this form, because that's the one thing with Botman. It is only his fitness which is the worry, because when he plays, he's fantastic. Always.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad game for Newcastle ever.
No, no. Yeah. I mean, I think what they should do is because Van Dijk's right-footed anyway, isn't he? Is he?
He is. Yeah, he is.
Move him over to the right and put Sven into the left. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, and
Van der Ven is is he a centre back for
yeah,
Brighton or is he
Van
does
de
he not play,
Ven. He's
does he
the
not play
centre back for
fullback?
Spurs. He's the centre back for Spurs.
Oh, I'm thinking Van
Mickey van
Heck.
de Ven. Yeah,
I'm
Van Heck
thinking
plays some. Yeah, Van Heck plays minutes for them as well, the Brighton centre back. But it's Mickey van de Ven who is left-footed, and he is a centre back as well.
is he really fast?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
that's the
one.
problem then.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair enough then. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, he's just gonna have to fight for it, isn't he? But when you go on to the
I
next
think so
one
too.
though, if you want to, if you want to look at the other one,
Yeah, I'd
Malik
like to
Chow.
talk about his partner, but before we do that, I suggest we take a little break because we've already hit
Yeah.
the mark as well. All right, here we are again after a little break, and I remember Shane would have liked to get straight back into it with the German lads. I think you were going to start with.
Yeah, Malik Chow.
All right, I think let's group Nick Voltemade in there as well, but start with Thiaw, please, for the German lads. What do you think Thiaw will be there for the World Cup?
I'm not too sure. Well, obviously it shows that I'm not too sure about other nations because I didn't really know too much about Holland and I don't know too much about Germany. So all I can talk about is Malik Chow, what I've seen of him, and he's just so good. The only times he's ever really made a mistake is because it's his first few minutes for us. But I watched him for the entire match at Bournemouth, and I know he right at the end he nearly gave a penalty away, and I genuinely thought it was a penalty. But up until that point, for 89 minutes of the game, he was just fantastic. He's just so strong on the ball, but composed on the ball. And for a defender, it's like in this modern day, he's such a good modern day centre back. Like he's got all the attributes that you need for that. He's got strength, he's got pace, he's got the physical attributes, he's got the composure, so he's got the mental attributes. I think he's the full package. I'll be honest with you. And I saw him sort of gradually come into it. So I sort of seen his cameo appearance against sort of Liverpool and Barcelona, and then I seen him against Bournemouth, and then I seen him against was it Bradford? Did he play?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Yeah, and then
Yep.
then he played against Arsenal. It was just fantastic. I've just seen it every time I've seen him. He just seems to get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say is if he doesn't make the German side, they must have some really, really exceptional defenders.
Well, this is the thing. So he hasn't been called up to the German squad, but I think you've pretty much nailed it there with your description of him because I've been so surprised with his start to life at Newcastle. I was really excited when we signed him because I know him he was a pretty big talent in that center back role, but Eddie seems to absolutely love him and Fabian Schär has a real big fight on his hands to reclaim any sort of starting berth because Malik Chow, as you said, isn't really putting a foot wrong at this moment in time. The thing
Mm.
is, when it
Yeah, I
comes to
agree.
the Germany squad, he's got some competition. He probably won't start because you've got on the one hand Jonathan Tah, who is the Bayer Leverkusen captain who just moved to Bayern Munich, and you have Nico Schlotterbeck, who is the left-sided center back for Borussia Dortmund. You also have Antonio Rudiger at Real Madrid. So those are three really, really fantastic center backs. But for my fourth spot should be his, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He
like I say,
should
I
be on
mean,
the
I'm not.
plane.
Yeah, if Germany have got one defender better than him, two, or maybe push three defenders better than him, fair enough. I'd find it very hard to believe they've got four defenders better than him, and if they have, then
I
so be
agree.
it. But,
Yeah, I think he already pushes Sta and Schlotterbeck really close for a starting berth. If he keeps on performing the entire season like he's doing at this moment in time, pretty much both in underlying statistics and in what we've seen with clean sheets and stuff,
yeah,
what has been
yeah,
the best defense in
yeah.
England, he's got to be
I
there.
saw I saw enough of him in cameo appearances because when Fabian Shaw went off with the concussion for a bit,
Mhm.
I said to the guy who sits next to me at the games, I said Fabian Shaw's going to have a fight on his hands to get his place back, and
Absolutely.
that was before we saw what Malik Chow did, and now we've seen what Malik Chow did. It's like
Yeah.
wow, yeah, you know what I mean. So, but I think I've always felt that from the start of the season that our two first choice centre backs would have been it would have been Botman and Chow. It just so happens that Burn was playing really well and you couldn't
Mhm.
drop him, and then Shaw was playing really well and you couldn't drop him. So you're relying on that sort of injury to get them chances, and they haven't let them go. But I like that. I just think we've got such a good sort of setup at centre back positions right now.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree because you're right. I did expect that to be our center back partnership as well, Botman Chow, but I expected that to be our partnership come the end of the season, maybe even come the start of next season, because Chow signed pretty late in the window and he's still pretty young, and Cher has done really, really well for so many years for us. But it's just such a testament to how good Chow is that he's slotted in seamlessly, that Eddie Howe seems to already love him to bits. And to be honest, so do I, and so do you. He's
Yeah,
fantastic.
he's. I'll be honest with you. As far as an all-round defender goes, a defender that can play with his feet,
Mm.
best I've ever seen at Newcastle.
I think he might be right up there, and he's only going to improve from here.
I know it's early days. I know it's early days, but I mean, it's not really high praise when I've seen Titus Bramble and John on ToonTALK. Like, but
Listen,
but you
listen,
get what
you've
I'm
got to
coming from.
start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. All right. As for the other German lad, I think there is no single discussion about him. Nick Voltemade.
Yeah,
He's
he's got
on
to
the
win.
plane and he's starting. He's starting
He's
every
got to be.
single game.
Yeah, he's just fantastic, isn't
He
he?
is. He is mint. I think the one thing I absolutely love about him already as well is that every single pundit seems to love him to bits. Every single football fan seems to love him,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
after the banter summer we've had
Mm.
in mainstream media. It was a banter summer because we've covered it many times on this podcast before. We've actually had a really, really good summer if you look close into it. But
Yeah,
what has been a banter summer on the surface, we've come out of it with maybe the most popular player at this moment in time in the Premier League.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
just says a lot as well, I think. The
Well,
one
yeah,
thing
yeah.
that we do have to take into account is that Germany aren't sure of qualification yet either. They are level on both on 6 points with both Northern Ireland and Slovakia having all played 3 games in their group. So they'll probably still make it, but job isn't done for them, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think Germany always find a way, don't they?
Yeah, they will. They will.
They always
All
find a
right.
way.
Brazil, I think this is the most guaranteed in our squad because one, Brazil have already qualified, and two, there is no chance unless he's injured, which fingers crossed we get to see him play at a World Cup because I would really like that. I'm obviously talking about Captain Fantastic Bruno Guimaraes. He will be there, right? And he will play.
100%, 100%.
As
It's not
for
even
Joe
a.
Linton, however, will he
Yes,
go?
yeah. Well, this is it. It's just a shame with Brazil because I don't know, because in the qualifying games they didn't really make it. But when they're playing friendlies in qualifiers, they're not playing. They're not playing defensive midfielders much.
No.
I think Bruno's probably too defensive for them. The way that they play and the way that they attack teams that are lesser than them, shall we say? They go out there. It's like like sort of Real Madrid say we
Mhm.
have to win the Champions League. Brazil seem to say we have to play stylish attacking football. That's
Yeah,
like so it's like a non-negotiable.
absolutely.
But when you go to tournaments, Ancelotti, I am right in saying that Ancelotti is Brazilian manager.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Ancelotti, I think he's going to look at it on the tournament football and think, actually, we may need to be a bit pragmatic here because there may be times where we do need to defend. There may be times we do look over our shoulder when we're playing teams like in the latter stages. And Joel, do you want Joelinton could be in a shout for that sort of type of
Absolutely.
play. But
Absolutely.
but like we're discussing wild cards, I think if in Brazil terms, I think it'd probably be Joelinton on the wild card. He would
Mhm.
be he would be sort of that sort of style for them probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think I agree with that. I'd say to Ancelotti, he's not necessarily a must bring, but I'd recommend bringing him because he's
it's
going to
not
be
like I'm saying
useful.
yeah, it's not like I'm saying he's a defensive player, but it's the defensive qualities he brings, the
Mhm.
strength,
Yeah, the
the,
willingness to do the dog work. Yeah,
the holding the ball up, the putting the challenge in, the getting the covering the ground, that sort of thing. Where your back's against the wall and you're not smashing teams 5-0, and it's 1-1 and you've got to get in there and you're in the trenches. What a player to have! You don't want
absolutely.
any other player. You don't want any other player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've got attacking players and they're beautiful on the ball, but in Vinicius Junior and stuff like this. But in those circumstances, a Vinicius Junior needs a Joe Linton. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, you're
in,
right.
in my
Absolutely.
eyes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But well, if they don't take him, it's their loss. But I would love it for Joe if he gets there.
All right, the next player I would want to talk about, I was immediately having a look at what they are doing because Italy is playing at this moment in time against Estonia. And despite not having a goal involvement, yet again, Sandro Tonali seems to be man of the match according to SofaScore. So there's no single surprise in there. I think the
No,
one
no, no.
way we won't get to see Sandro Tonali play in the World Cup is Italy look like they have a fight on their hands yet again to make it, which would make it an unprecedented 3 World Cups in a row without Italy.
Yeah, they seem to have gone off the boil.
Absolutely.
We still managed to lose against them in the final, though, didn't we? Of the Euros. This is what I
Yeah.
mean about this is what I mean about Gareth Southgate. As soon as we come against anyone half decent, is lost, and
Mhm.
to not go at them when they had a combined age of like 506 in four defenders,
Yeah, that was
like
absolutely wild.
mental. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, they just seem to have gone off the boil. If you take away the Euro win,
Mhm.
um, then yeah, I think that was the final straw for them, wasn't it? Like all their players were
Absolutely.
so old,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
wrote
And I think every single Italy fan would agree completely with what you're saying right now because the Italy national team has been a shambles for quite a while. And one thing
yeah.
that is worrying every single Italy fan is the Serie A is not producing Italian talent at all at this moment in time. So that's a real big worry for them. They are for the people who don't know the situation, they have they are playing today and winning against Estonia, so we'll just write up 3 points for them, meaning they are still 6 points behind Norway in a group where only the first qualifies directly for the World Cup. And all right, they have played one game less, but even if they win that game, they are 3 points behind Norway. They do face Norway one more time, so I'll just
They
say
can
it
even
right
it up if
now.
they want.
The, if we ignore the Italy game, Norway is still winning every single other game in this group because Israel, Estonia, and Moldova don't really
Yeah,
have anything to offer against Norway. Meaning, even if Italy win against Norway, it will come down to goal difference. And I don't know if you have a guess at what or an estimate at what the goal difference is between them, Norway and
I,
Italy, at this moment in time.
Norway is. I think Norway have got a better goal difference by 5.
I think I'll tell you right now. Italy's goal difference is 7, and Norway's goal difference is 26.
26. Wow,
26.
I know that they, and yeah, I know this
Yeah.
scored a hell of a lot of goals. No way, I
They've
know it's been
conceded
better than
3 and scored 29.
wow, wow,
Haaland scored
Jesus.
a hat trick again today.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Or
Yeah,
was Odegaard playing as well? Odegaard's a fantastic player.
it's unbelievable. It's
Oh yeah,
unbelievable. So Italy
Odegaard.
have a real
Odegaard is
five.
he's always played well at St James's Park as well. Odegaard.
I
I
don't think
remember.
he's getting too much stick at this moment in time from Premier League fans. Odegaard.
Oh, I just ignore them. They just a lot of them speak a lot of crap.
Yeah, you're right.
but no,
Yeah,
but no, Odegaard is a fantastic player. You just got to look at him to see that. Yeah, you peak and you trough, and you go through ebbs and flows. But
exactly.
form is temporary, class is permanent. He is definitely a classic
hmm
player.
Yeah, and he's struggling with fitness as well at this moment in time. So
But
I
no,
just I
yeah,
just give it
yeah.
a little time.
We're going to Italy. I mean, it would be nice to see Tonali in a World Cup. Don't get me wrong, but
Absolutely.
yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? But all we know is that if Italy do go there, there's no question
hmm
mark over his involvement in that Italian squad.
Yeah. Did you see what Paul Scholes said about him this week? Because it
Best Premier League, best midfielder in the Premier League, and
exactly that did stir
I
a big
totally agree.
debate.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
I think
You're not gonna see Rice or Caicedo bombing it into the left back position in 90 plus 3 minutes, like it was the first minute, running, getting the ball, and then just nonchalantly passing, doing a 1-2, and then running back up the other side of the pitch. No one's doing that. No
exactly
one's doing that. So yeah,
exactly.
in individual moments, Rice might be better. In individual moments, Casado might be better, but they can't do what Tonali can do, and it's as
That's
simple as that.
I think that's pretty much bang on. Tonali is probably the most complete midfielder in English football at this moment in time because he does genuinely have
So good.
everything to his game.
Off the
And
ball and on the ball, defensive,
exactly,
attacking,
exactly.
just
He's
link up
everywhere.
play,
He's
passing,
everywhere.
tackling. The only thing he can't do is head it. But
And that
you always see Dan Burn just run in front of him though. Anyway, don't you?
yeah.
It's not there poised to head it. It's like, oh, I might head it, and then Dan Burn just comes flying in, and then just like, I've got this, Sandro, bam, and then he gets it, and
I
you know,
mean, if you have a team with such giants like we do, it's not necessarily a problem that Sandro can't head the ball, can he? So
yeah,
that is a fantastic thing as well. I do agree. I'd like it to see him at the World Cup just because a player of his quality has to be at a tournament like that. The If that's Italy covered, there are only two more players who might feature for us, or might feature at the World Cup, who are our players. Osula might go for Denmark. They are top of
yeah,
their group, so that could very much be a possibility. Hopefully, come
yeah,
January, he's still a Newcastle United player. And then
yeah,
the last player is someone who we still haven't seen anything of and are probably still going to have to wait for until November. It's Johan Wissa. He is most likely going with Congo because they are at this moment in time, I believe, second in their qualification group, only 2 points behind Senegal. So the second team goes into a different tournament, I believe, in
yeah.
Africa for the qualification. So Congo have a really realistic shot at qualifying.
Yeah, but he's not just gonna go. He's gonna play 3 games. They're gonna lose 3 games, and they're gonna go home.
Probably, but it's for a player like him. For a player like him, you're 95% of the time you're absolutely right. But I do think for a player like him who is so proud of representing his nation of Congo, it's a massive moment to even feature in the World Cup, even if it were just 1 minute of playing time. I think he'd be gassed.
Yeah, it's just I'm just obviously with when it comes to Johan Wissa, I don't really have much of an opinion one way or the other, just for the fact that we haven't seen him at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can only think of him like obviously last season at Brentford, and the time he has been at Brentford has been fantastic, and I thought it was an exciting prospect. The only thing about Wissa is I thought it was a good signing short term, bad signing long term. But now it's looking like bad signing short term as well because he's always
Mhm.
injured, and I just really hope he doesn't go to the Afcon. There's murmurings that he won't be going to the Afcon.
I think that would be
Um,
great. No.
if he doesn't go to the Afcon, I think all is forgiven.
Mhm.
Everything's whatever. Hope Congo do well. Hope everything does well. But
Absolutely.
if we build him back up to full fitness and he goes to the Afcon, I,
And I
I'm
must
not.
I must admit as well, I know Congo aren't the most fantastic national side out there, but if there is one position where they can actually miss a player, it is striker because they still have Cedric Bakambu, who is a European specialist for his time at Villarreal, for example, and he's now back in Spain playing for Betis and scoring goals for Real Betis. And they also have Banza, who is a player who actually scores bucket loads of goals over in Portugal. I think he's now at Braga, but
Yeah,
he just seems to be a handful character
yeah,
wise. But they are two talented players who played the striker role, so that would make me quite happy as well to see Wissa
yeah.
stay home from the AFCON because by the time he's back, he'd probably already have to start packing his bags for the AFCON, which would be an absolute
Yeah,
shame
I
given the
wouldn't like
fact
that at all. I
he's
wouldn't like
pushing
that at
30
all.
already as well, and we did pay
Yeah, well,
close to 60 million pounds for him. So
100%. But yeah, just another one that we may have missed out on there. Um, as a little bit of a knock-on effect, we loaned Matt Target out to
oh
Middlesbrough.
yeah, yeah.
But we loaned Matt Target out to Middlesbrough. Lewis Hall's now got an injury to his hamstring, a
Uh-huh.
short-term injury. Thinking that Alex Murphy, Eddie Howe must have some sort of trust in Alex Murphy as a left back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, from what I've seen of him in cameo appearances, and I saw him at the friendly at Celtic, pre-season friendly. I went up there. He looked fantastic, and we saw him against Bradford, and he looked good. He just looks good, Alex Murphy. I've never seen him look bad. And if he gets some minutes this season, because it's a long season, and with Tino, our other potential person on the left, being
Yeah.
being out as well, and Lewis Hall being out, and you know, I think we might see more of Alex Murphy. And if Ireland qualify, you might see Alex Murphy in an Ireland shirt.
Yeah, the problem with that is Ireland aren't going to qualify. They are bottom of a group containing Armenia.
Ah, there you go. Then you've answered my question. Yeah, yeah.
No,
No,
no worries, mate. But
fair enough. I don't.
I've just checked it, so this isn't something I know of the cuff, but I did remember Ireland lost to Armenia in the last international break, and that's actually the second time in 3 years they've lost to Armenia. So they aren't going to the World Cup anytime soon.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
All right. The one person I did think about as well for us who might be going to the World Cup. I'm checking how his nation is doing in the qualifiers, but they usually are around and about it. Yes, they are second in their group. Actually, uh, they are first along with Denmark, both on 7 points. I'm talking about Scotland because Harrison Ashby can still come out for Scotland, and I think
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
he might well do because he this season is if I'm not mistaken the first season he isn't loaned out, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So
Swansea, was it Swansea the first time, and then
yeah,
uh,
yeah, and if
was
he
it?
does end up making some minutes in the cup, who knows? Maybe a late shout for Scotland as well.
To be fair, if you play football and are Scottish, you're in with a shout. Sorry,
Exactly, that's
sorry.
exactly it. No, 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 you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I, I do apologise to all our Scottish
I mean,
listeners.
I think our fellow Scotsmen will allow our our Scottish listeners will allow it. That's what I was trying to say.
I'm only joking. I'm only joking. But yeah, but no, yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of sort of nicely wrapped up the internationals, hasn't it? Really, can't
I
see
think
anyone
so as
else.
well. Yeah.
I think you're scraping the barrel. I mean, I thought I was scraping the barrel with Alex Murphy, and then
Then I had
that's
to put
definitely
one up on top as well. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that concludes the international chat pretty nicely as well. And I was looking at the time. I think we maybe should keep the start of the season chat for next week's episode because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will only have
definitely.
one game to talk about next week. Obviously, the
Yeah,
Premier League game
that's fine.
against Brighton.
If I could just briefly just sort of top it up a bit, just basically, I'm just saying I think I'm happy with the way that we've started the season,
Mhm.
and I think that Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job in identifying that the turbulence that we had was going to be up top, and it was going to be very, we've had, two strikers leave the club. We've got a new right winger and two new late strikers in, so there's a lot of turbulence
Yeah.
at the top of the park, but not so much in defence. So I think that he knew that. And then we've said, right, the one thing you can't do when you're not going to freely score goals is concede them. So we've
Mhm.
shaped up often with five at the back. We've just been solid at the back. We've kept loads of clean sheets like we needed to. And we've scored where we can, hence the number of draws instead of wins. But I think that just needs must at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that Eddie Howe and his team have got it absolutely spot on in terms of that. Even though sometimes 1-0 draws at Bournemouth and at Leeds and at Villa might not necessarily look good,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're just necessary evils. That's all they are. And then we're picking up points at home against sort of. Well, we're picking up points away because them draws do pick up points, and
Mhm.
then we're getting points at home in Forest and at Wolves. And yeah, I just think it's going on nicely now. And now we've got like a rhythm up top, and we can probably afford to be a little bit more expansive. And I think he's also done it. Eddie Howe and Tyndall and the rest of them. They've done a fantastic job in rotating the team. Seven changes at Bournemouth, going away to Bournemouth and still getting a point and a clean
Yeah.
sheet is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Another 7 changes and progressing to the next round of the League Cup, brilliant. Just keep on changing it. We've got 3 points in the Champions League on the Champions League table with an away win in the Champions League
Hmm.
and an away clean sheet.
And
Again,
our biggest
brilliant.
victory ever in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we could to come back from that and then beat Forest in the league with a clean sheet again.
Hmm.
Just it's fantastic. I think there's a hell of a lot to be positive about. We've only lost to Barcelona, Liverpool, and Arsenal,
We've only conceded to those three teams as well with Nick Pope in goal.
and Bradford.
Yeah, with Nick Pope in goal, with Nick Pope in goal.
All right then, yeah. I love the fact that we've only conceded to Barcelona, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Bradford.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? That's
That's
so
Newcastle, though,
Newcastle.
isn't it? That is Newcastle. Yeah.
It is. It is. But I do think you make some really interesting points because people nowadays are so unbelievably reactionary when it comes to football. They when a team plays bad for or when a team plays unbelievably well for like 10 games, they are on a good streak, but then they lose one, they're immediately out of form. Whereas
Yeah,
it, it is so unbelievably hard to keep up a winning streak, especially given how competitive the Premier League is at this moment in
yeah,
time. Because,
yeah.
I mean, if you have a look at the table, at this moment in time, Aston Villa still sit in the relegation zone, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have a quick look to see if I'm not.
I know they took a while to get the mark scoring goals. I know that much.
Oh, they
See,
are
that's
now
just
they are now
the
back up
Aston
in
Villa's.
13. But let's take West Ham for example. West Ham are still in the relegation zone. When you have to play a fixture in any other league where you are playing the number 19th in the table, you tell yourself this is an easy victory. If you go and play West Ham and you think this is an easy victory, you still have to contend with players like Bowen, like Paqueta. You have to contend with defenders like, for example,
Wan-Bissaka.
Wan-Bissaka, who is a fantastic one-on-one defender. Diouf, who started the season really well. Max Gilman, who has been a Premier League
I was going
servant
to say
for a
Kilman.
really long time. That's
Mm.
such a solid team, and they are in 19th. So the level of this league is unbelievably
Yeah,
hard, and it does
yeah,
take time to bet in new players. So I think you're spot on. People just have to stop panicking, give Eddie
yeah,
Howe the keys to the city because he
yeah.
knows what he's doing.
I was happy with the 0-0 at Bournemouth, and people say I'm strange for that, but I went to that game and
Mhm.
I drove for somewhere between 10 and 11 hours that day. I drove there, watched the game, and drove back home. Right, that's a lot of hours driving.
That's
Yeah,
a
a
lot
lot.
of hours.
A lot of hours driving, and I took both my children. Well, I took one kid to the match, but my mum came with me, so my other son come along with us for the trip.
Yeah,
And it was an expensive do because we had to go to like get something to eat, get
I
something to
can
drink, and all
imagine.
that. And if I'd done all that, and I can honestly hand on heart say that I watched my team perform and I was happy with the draw, then I think I've got every right to be happy with that draw if I want to be
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
with that draw.
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
it's but as well, like I think you brought up Villa in there, and I know that you said they're 13th now, but they couldn't score. They was finding it very, very hard to score goals.
Hmm.
And but what they didn't do is they didn't do what Eddie Howe did, and they didn't say, right, we're going to find it hard to score goals, so we're not going to concede them.
Yeah.
But they didn't concede them, and that's when they were losing the games that they were losing.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's why they got a shaky start. Whereas I think we've done it well. I mean, we've been sucker blowed twice. Um, then again, with 2 last minute, conceding 2 last minute goals to lose games against
Yeah.
Liverpool and Arsenal. That part of me saying that that's fine because we basically lost those games trying to win it. So at Liverpool, even with
Hmm.
10 men just banging on the door trying to get that third goal, trying to win the game, and that eventually lost us the game because then the extra man counted on the other end of the pitch and then they scored. And with Arsenal, Nick Pope picked it up, tried to find a Langer, obviously cannot kick. at all. But in trying to get the attack going to win the game, we've lost the game. So if you're going to lose games by trying to win them, I don't think we can argue much on that front.
No, and
But
I
then,
do.
sorry, go on. You was going to say you was going to.
No, I think you're right. Losing games by trying to win them is something I can accept because that's something we've done before. Like for example, the first season we were back in the Champions League, we were actually fighting until one of the last minutes to even still get Champions League, let alone follow through to your or drop down to Europa League football. But given the fact that we didn't just accept dropping down to Europa League and were still trying to win the game until the last seconds, that in combination with a bit of naivety probably meant we lost the game so late on and actually ended up bottom of our group. But I found that a lot easier to stomach than dropping down to the Europa League by just simply shutting up shop and trying to get a result by not playing. I respect us for getting a win. And on the other thing you said about Aston Villa, them struggling to score goals, I think that's another feather on Eddie Howe's cap because Aston Villa seem, and I've said this for a long time, but Aston Villa seem like they are chasing us, but are always one season behind. So we got Champions League football. A season later, they got Champions League football. The season they got Champions League football, we actually got Conference League football, but then ended up missing out on European football entirely, thanks to Manchester United. Last season, we were the ones who got Champions League football, meaning Aston Villa were the ones who missed out on that at the last match day. But now this season has started, and you have to say that Aston Villa, they have now had kind of the same summer as we did last year. We came out of that summer a lot better than they have out of this summer. And that's, in my opinion, nearly all down to how Eddie Howe motivates his squad, how Eddie Howe sets up his squad. Because if you don't have any new attackers to add to your lineup, it's really hard to not become predictable. And Eddie Howe has managed to reinvigorate a squad that was already assembled and already had achieved something together, and not only get them back in Champions League, but win their first trophy in 70 years as well. So that is the more you think about that achievement, the more impressive it becomes.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And see, when people talk about like how good Eddie Howe's been as a manager, I don't think they give it as near enough amount of sort of emphasis on those points that you've made. Yeah, 100%. I was just going to say though, like it's good that I can accept that we're losing matches by trying to win them with them two sucker blows. But on the flip side to that is you get sucker blowed once, it's unlucky. You get sucker blowed twice, it's a problem, isn't it? Because we should have learned as lessons from Liverpool. We should have said, right, when we're in games and it's the last few minutes, we need to talk about this. I'm sure Eddie Howe does. But when it's the last few minutes, we need to be not as naive and we need to be sort of thinking, right, let's just hold on to the ball. Because if Nick Pope held onto that ball, we come away from Arsenal with a 1-1.
Exactly.
But it is what it is. It is what it is. But,
yeah, you do make a good point there. That naivety has to be something we learn out of, because it is to be excused and it is to be forgiven, but you have to learn out of those mistakes as well. That is a really fair point.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to add on our start of the season as our final segment to this podcast?
No, I'm going down to Brighton. I managed to get away tickets for me and my son at Brighton. We have been to Brighton before. Last time we went to Brighton, it was just after Steve Bruce got sacked and Graham Jones was in charge. It was just before Eddie Howe took charge. Okay. And we finished 1-1. It was 1-0 to Brighton for a large part of the game. Sanchez was in goal and got sent off.
What a surprising thing to see.
And guess who went in the net? Guess who went in the net for Brighton?
Was it Tim Krul?
No, it was an outfield player.
Ooh, Dunk?
Oh, I might be wrong here because I was at the other end of the
pitch. It Dan Burn?
It looked like Dan Burn to me. I might be wrong on that.
That would be fun. I'm going to do some research on that.
Do you know how many shots on target we managed against Dan Burn in the 2 minutes that was left of the match?
Zero.
Right, John Joe Shelby had the free kick because Callum Wilson got took down and it was a sending off. I was like, just shoot. There's Dan Burn in the net. Just shoot. And there was pass, and they didn't get a shot off. And then
Oh
there was
my God.
pass. And I was like, all you have to do, I don't care where you are on the pitch, it's Dan Burn in the net. Shoot. And they wouldn't. Anyway, but yeah, that was that. That I met Graham Jones not long after that in the service station, and we were talking about that game. And Graham Jones said, he was talking to me in depth about it, and he said actually he couldn't do much because he'd only just inherited it from Bruce, and he couldn't he couldn't make wholesale changes. He just had to go again with the same sort of style and setup as what Steve Bruce had. He had one game in between Bruce and Howe, and he can't pull up any trees, and you know what I mean. So all he had to do is just recycle the same sort of things that Bruce was saying, but then just sort of motivate the lads and stuff, and just do the best he can.
I think a lot of managers suffer from that. I think Ange is suffering from that at this moment in time. From what is I think an unmotivated squad from the fact of how Nuno was sacked. I've seen, by the way, that Ange is likely to be already sacked and replaced by Sean Dyche, which is just absolutely unbelievable. At that point, in my opinion, at that point, you're just making a fool out of yourself if you're Angelis Marinakis. But maybe I've said too much there. I would like to end this podcast on maybe one more question, which is for a bit of fun. If Newcastle United were playing and we had already used up all 5 of our substitutes, and Nick Pope was to catch a red card, who would you like to stand in for him in between the sticks? If we can't make any other substitution,
I'm going to go for Dan Burn just because he kept the clean sheet at Brighton when he went in.
Yeah,
and he's huge, and he takes up most of the goal just standing there. And although he can't really, can he get down low? He broke his hand and he's got something on his shoulder. Probably not.
I was thinking Joe Linton, a bit of that Brazilian acrobatics. I don't know if that.
I can just see him making a save and roaring to the crowd now.
Yeah, exactly. I can see him. I can see someone. I can see someone having an absolute thundercut from far, and Joe Linton just heading it clear off of the line, forgetting he can handle the ball at that point.
Yeah, or maybe Bruno is just sheer passion.
That could be absolutely
would keep the ball out of the net because he would do anything to get that ball out of the net. He would do anything. So I
would like to see it. I actually did go to a game in Germany once. I think it was 3 years ago. I went to Borussia Dortmund against Leverkusen, and come the end of the game, their goalkeeper was sent off as well, and they had already used all of their substitutes. So for the last 10 minutes, it was Edmond Tapsoba, their centre back, who we had been linked with this summer, who had to go in goal for them. So that was really fun to see as well. But unfortunately, Dortmund scored a penalty against him, but you can't really fault him for conceding a penalty, I suppose. That's a really fun fact as well. All right. In that case, Shane, I would really like to thank you for coming on the pod with me today. I really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, same here.
I think we made a fantastic England squad, which will absolutely bring home the trophy over the summer. I also think we covered Newcastle United players pretty well, both for their potential World Cup appearances and for their start of the season. So, with all of that having been said, I would like to thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you did go on to enjoy this, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review if you are listening to this on Spotify, a like and a subscription if you are listening to this on YouTube. Head over to our socials, Magpie 24/7 on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know the drill. And we would very much like to see you in the next episode. Have a good one.